Hi, I'm Richard Burns, and thanks for coming to In the Flow, the channel for spiritual beings about spiritual beings. All of our episodes are embedded with transformational energy. Thus, as you watch, you can receive healing energy.
Hi, my name is Dina.
Hi, Dina. So I guess what we've decided we want to try to do is to do a card reading. Just explain a little bit what I'm going to be going through and what the purpose of it is for your clients and for me today.
Okay, so before I get to the card reading, let me explain the purpose of a reading, because many people are under the impression that we probably get from the movies and books that a reading and fortune telling is the same thing. So fortune telling is when you come to somebody and you ask, should I marry this guy? Or is this guy right for me? Or what job should I have? Or when am I gonna get a promotion? So usually those questions are closed-ended, so they're either yes or no, or they are timing related. In other words, the person wants certainty. They want to know their future. And it's understandable. Well, I don't know if we all want to know our future, but there are times, especially when we're struggling, that it helps to know that we're going to be okay. It helps to know the future. But those types of answers are not particularly helpful. In fact, they can be quite harmful, because what they do is they take the person's free choice away. They say, this is going to happen, or this is not going to happen. This is going to happen tomorrow. And so now you only have one choice. The way the universe works, the way spirit works, is that there are infinite ways to get to where you need to go. There are infinite choices and infinite possibilities. And so when we ask a closed-ended questions, we get rid of all the infinite stuff. When we ask a question the right way, in an open-ended way, then that is helpful. So the purpose of a reading, usually it's called an intuitive reading, although that's not really the right term for it, and I'll explain in a moment. But usually we use that to mean that a person comes for a reading to get advice or information that will help them accomplish something. And that something has to do with their personal growth. In other words, a reading is kind of like going to a therapist, except in therapy you talk, and in a reading I talk. And in therapy, usually people talk about life skills. How do I stop ruminating? How do I stay motivated? How do I get this done, that done? So it's skills. Now, there are other things that are done in therapy, but primarily it's to help you deal with life. What therapy is starting to offer now, but it's still not very common, is talking about things like happiness, more existential things like life purpose. What am I doing here? How can my soul grow? Things like that. Some therapists talk about that, but generally that is the part that falls to the intuitive reader, or to a psychic reader, depends on how you call it. In other words, we deal with existential issues that have to do with our relationship to the world, our relationship to ourselves, being happier, growing spiritually, things like that. And so this is why it's always good to ask open-ended questions in a reading.
So for me, let's say we're going to do this reading. Where would you start? Would I be saying that I'm looking for some specific answers, or are you pulling the cards up and then starting to tell me about things that are happening around my spirits? How does that work?
There is a reason. In the same way as a person would go to therapy to figure something out for a reason, a person would go get an intuitive reading for a reason. And so when you are clear on the reason why you're getting it, you don't have to know the exact question you ask, but you do have to know why you're here and either where you want to be or what you want to accomplish. The only thing I ask is that you keep it real, not do a theoretical one. So ask for something that has at least a little bit of emotional significance for you. But it's really up to you. But all readings, the center of a reading is you. And the purpose, again, is to be helpful. So whatever it is that you need today, let me know.
Let's get started.
Let's get started. Okay, so in the earlier conversations, we talked about what is it that you can do so that the project is more impactful, more successful. And we looked at your chakras, and we saw that your bottom lower chakras, the third solar plexus, the second low belly, and the first at the base of your spine could be more balanced, let's say, or could, I don't like the word more healthy, but could be brighter, let's say it that way. So that's what we're going to do with the cards. We will ask our guides, what advice do you have for Richard regarding the health of his third chakra, which has to do with relationship to self, self-esteem, and also it has to do with how you hold space when you talk to people. So if you think about when a person goes up on stage, some people, they just have such strong presence, right? It's them there. So that's also third chakra. So let's see what without looking at what issues you have there, without exploring those, we're just going to ask for direction. So this reading is more like direction rather than deep exploration of that issue for time's sake. All right, what advice do we have for Richard regarding making his third chakra healthier for the purposes of the success of this project, of the In the Flow? The way I select cards is I will feel for them, and that's just how I work. Some people, they know it visually, some people would just pick randomly. I'm so used to sending energy through my hands, so I feel the cards through my hands. Okay, so this is a little doe. It says, bring a gentle touch. And so what this means is don't be so hard on yourself. Kind of take it easy. Don't judge yourself as much. When you discover things about yourself that have to do, well, with personal growth, because this is what spirituality is about, don't judge yourself too harshly. Meaning, treat yourself as you would maybe your grandchild. And if you have negative self-talk, stop it. Don't do that. So that's what this card means. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I deal with that a lot anyway. I think most people do, but especially when I'm in the midst of a project and it takes a long time to gain awareness. You know, I'm constantly questioning am I doing it the right way? What should I be doing that I haven't been doing? But lately, I actually, what you just said is I've just been trying to almost follow my own advice and just stay in the flow and just do this, and I'm not trying to sort of steer the ship so much anymore. I'm just out there on the water and I'm doing this, and wherever the current takes me, I'll be happy with that.
So that's perfect, and you actually bring up a really good point. A reading is not going to reveal ever something you don't know, or something that you haven't already been doing and following. Now, you may not be aware that you know it, but when we do a reading, we read your energy, right? It's already in your energy, it's already with you. So a lot of times a reading will be a confirmation that what you're doing is correct rather than instructions. A lot of us are intuitive enough to know what we need to do, but we question ourselves. A lot of the healing work we do is actually quite unnecessary, because if we change the root cause, the issue is not going to happen. If you're a little more gentle with yourself, then your third chakra will be healthier automatically. Let's look at your second chakra, and we'll leave it open. Second chakra is creativity, one-on-one relationships, romantic, business relationships. So like right now, you and I have a connection through the second chakra. Well, actually, since I'm doing a reading, we kind of have a connection through all of them. But when we let's say we meet a friend for dinner, and there are certain relationship dynamics that we have with a friend that is very much influenced by the second chakra, and relationship to money, sex, procreation, and my favorite, things about ourselves that we want to put in the darkest corner of our mind and never see again, except they pop up in the most inconvenient situation at the worst possible time ever. That's also in your second chakra.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It's a fun one. All right, let's see. This one came out. It's an interesting one. Okay, I actually haven't gotten that one before. Vulture spirit. It says, nothing is wasted. When we work with spirit animals, it's not good or bad. All animals have something to teach us, and all animals are revered, or should be revered. There are no bad omens. There are just signs, and what they mean for you can be good or bad. Vulture sees value in everything that exists. What seems rotten and ugly has the potential to be transmuted into something beneficial. So we'll see what that means, and then we'll see how we can apply it to your second chakra. It reminds you that suffering you have experienced has not gone to waste, and the result of it were wisdom and understanding. What is decaying, it's not disintegrating, it's simply changing form. All that you might wish to deny or discard has value and can be repurposed and reintegrated into the new you that you are becoming. So remember how I said there are things that we want to put away in the darkest corner of our mind and never see again?
Yes.
Bringing them up to the surface and working through them instead of ignoring them as bad things that you don't need, that will help with the health of your second chakra. So working on your shadow, that's the technical way to say it. Let's see what else is there. And again, it keeps talking a lot about that no pain is ever in vain and no experience is ever wasted. And so this is something that probably makes more sense to you because you know your life story and I don't. It reminds you to not run away from your past, not to deny your mistakes, and to allow grief and anger to move through you. So all of these negative emotions that we have that are impolite to show, we have to experience them somehow. They have to move through us. We don't necessarily have to yell at people to have them move through us, but experiencing anger is not the same thing as being angry. We need to experience those emotions. So that's your advice. If you have anger or grief, let yourself experience it, and it will transmute itself once it sees not once it sees the light, but once it is seen. Processing emotions. That's what I would say. Out of everything that I have said, it's to, and you know, if you've been around the block once or twice, and so you know the importance of processing emotions, and you probably have worked through quite a few of them, but this is another reminder to keep working on that, meaning allowing yourself, well, allowing them to come up, acknowledge them, feel them, and then let them go.
Okay, good.
With gratitude. Gratitude is super important, because if we let them go with a negative emotion, they're going to be pulled back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very much so. Thank you.
Okay, so let's do the first one.
First chakra, which is
First
my,
chakra, right.
is
This
that
is
the
root.
solar plex?
So solar plex third, low belly second, root first.
Oh, we're doing the root chakra now.
Yeah. So
Okay, good.
the numbers, they go backwards. They start from 7 and then
7,
they go
right,
down
okay.
to 1.
Right. And the root chakra really is what centers you to the earth.
It's how you ground. It's also your relationship with society. It's your relationship with your tribe, with people in it. So through your work, you do a lot of first chakra work through your films, right? And so it's important for you to be grounded, but it's also important for you to not have negative emotion towards your society, meaning what you do stems from love. And then the second thing is not to be under the rule of societal norms and pressures. In other words, actually, this is a good thing. I didn't invent it, but I heard it and I like it. People say religion is spirituality through the first chakra. So in a religion, and again, this is up for debate, and not all religious people are like that. Some religious people, they have a true connection to whatever they view as the higher power. But what's the word? Not the practice of religion itself, but the institution. The institution of religion is the very first chakra institution. It's a group institution. So what you do when you're plugged into the first chakra, you surrender some of your independence. You give it to the tribe so that you stay safe and so that you have community. Now, in your case, because you are influencing things at the tribal level, you're influencing society, it is important for you to have that balance, right, between no kind of fitting into the society and at the same time having no fear of what are they going to say, what are they going to do. In other words, not being controlled by it. So having a relationship with it without it controlling you. This one's been coming up a lot for people. This is koi fish, which is a goldfish, from what I understand, with all the goldfish stories that we have.
Right.
And you know how kois, they're kind of a strange fish because they can live in a really tiny pond, but then they can grow huge. So really, whatever they need to do, it's enough. They're not really bothered by the size of their pond. And so we can read this message several ways. If we were looking for this message in terms of personal, then we obviously would be talking about your beliefs. But since we are talking about messaging, then this can be interpreted as that is the message you show to people, that you're not broken, that you have enough, that you have the tools and the resources to deal with whatever comes your way. In other words, giving people, and look, it's gold color, and gold and yellow is the third chakra. Gold is also light. It's giving people the strength and the belief in themselves to step out of fear. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
It's also always important to remember that readings are not about me, the psychic and the reader. The reading is always about you, the client. And so the information, it's easy to get information from spirit, it's everywhere. But putting it into words and into context, that's the art form. And sometimes, or actually probably, I would say all the time, but sometimes to a bigger degree, sometimes to a lesser degree, the information isn't going to make sense to me. And it doesn't have to make sense to me. It has to make sense to you.
All right, so thank you so much for that reading. I hope a lot of people learn a lot from this, but I thought it was fascinating. I hope everybody else did. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.